Hi Toby. So you joined us here at the Falcons about 6 weeks ago as a rehab specialist. Yeah, and can you tell us kind of what your journey was to get here and what you were doing before that?
Yeah, so before coming over to Newcastle, I was working in Canberra. I was working at an elite high performance centre, which was started up by the ex-Wallabies physio and Brumbies physio. So we mainly looked after rugby as well as a lot of other sports. And the idea was once they were done with their stint with the physios, they'd come across to me and I'd sort of build them up back towards their training. Obviously with the Newcastle side of things, I jumped at the opportunity. It seems like a really good club, we've got really good staff here. And so, as I said, jumped at the opportunity to come over. Now I'm fulfilling a similar sort of role over here to what I was doing over in that elite centre as well, which is not only getting the guys back as fast as possible back from their injuries, but also bringing them back better than they were before, getting them bigger, faster, stronger, fitter, to sort of bring them back as a more well-rounded player than they've ever been.
And since in your time here, we've had a few guys out injured at the start of this season, so I guess there's been a lot of work on for you. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the guys that I know that the fans will want to hear about, the likes of Sonotti and Tom Catterick, who got injured in the game against Georgia, and a couple of the other guys. Can you tell us kind of what you've been doing with those guys?
For sure. So as you said, it has been a sort of thrown in the deep end since I first came out. We have had a lot of guys out, unfortunately. Marcus was probably one of our first ones who's now back and who's looking as sharp as ever. As you mentioned, Sonotti we've got in at the moment. So very hard worker. You've probably seen him out on the field before. He's a very sort of explosive and exciting guy, and he's brought that to his rehab training as well. So at the moment we're just working with him on all those areas that we're able to before we're able to get him back on the park. So he's working incredibly hard, boxing, doing other forms of fitness. His core strength's the best it's ever been from what he was saying, and now he's just getting into those stages where he's running. So it'll be exciting to see what sort of form he comes into when we got him back on the park. Tom Catterick, as you mentioned, soon to be out of his boot, looking very good, similar to Knotts in that he brings a very sort of hard work ethic to his rehab, not just his normal training when he's fit and out on the park. We've got him doing similar sort of things. So at the moment working extremely hard, boxing every day, same as Sonotti in terms of getting his core strength right up there. We'll be looking to bring him back into his running and then his fitness and his skills and gameplay shortly after that.
We spoke to on camera Gonza TSC last weekend. So how's Gonza doing?
So Gon's obviously more of a long-term injury, and he's been impressive to see how well he's been psychologically through that. So he's still extremely motivated, turns up giving it 100% every time that he comes in for his rehab sessions, and he's always happy to do those little 1 and 2 percenters. Once again, like the other boys, working on everything that we possibly can around the injury that he's got. But he's working into a good phase now. He's at that phase where he can start doing little bits of impact, and he's seeing a bit more light at the end of the tunnel, which is helping with that process as well, I think.
You talk there about sort of Sonotti's core strength and Tom's core strength. Does it, obviously nobody wants to get an injury, but I guess when the guys are out with something, on the foot or on the leg, I guess it gives you a bit of chance to kind of work on the other stuff with them.
Yeah, it's a great point, and that's probably my philosophy towards rehab as well, that it's not always just a hurdle and a hindrance, it's also an opportunity at the same time. So when you're back-to-back seasons being fit, often you have the chance for little imbalances or weaknesses to creep in. So I guess this is a clean slate for the guys to start from scratch, get everything in check, whether it's their core strength, their running technique, their fitness, any of those little weaknesses that we can address with the boys at the start of their rehab process that they identify as goals. We can well round all those little things before they get back on the park and hopefully get them back as a better player than they've ever been before.
And I guess there's a lot to do there once they are back with kind of maintenance to stop them getting injured again hopefully and keep them fit for
exactly right, and that's something that we're going through with a lot of the boys who've just come back, including Marcus. At the moment we've instilled new sort of warm-up techniques with them, new home programs. Maintenance is very important, as you said, to not slip back into those other habits, and so we're employing new sort of sprinting technique things with Marcus as well, just to make sure that keeps going as well.
I was listening to a couple of the new guys the other day, and they were saying that they've found since they've arrived here, our medical staff and the way we deal with all of the rehab stuff and all of the medical stuff off the pitch is top class, is kind of amongst the best they've seen in all the clubs they've been at. How have you found it since you've been in?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's good to hear that the players have the same sort of perception on that as well. I think we've got a really sort of close-knit unit between the medical team and the strength and conditioning team, as well as a coaching team that always helps with that. So when we do have new boys coming in, like Maritz Botha and Mike Delaney, it's good that they can get screened and get whatever issues they have attended to by the physios. I'm sort of that midway point to build them up back to where they need to be into team training, and then obviously Kev looks after them from there and integrates them back in with the coaches as well. So I think that's partly why the system works so well here, is that good communication and good sort of teamwork between all the different departments that we have out here.
One last question, totally changing the subject. Obviously, you've come to us from Canberra, from Australia originally. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
That's a silly question, I think. So Australia are a bit of a shoe-in. New Zealand will give us a bit of a challenge. England will be out in the round matches, and that'll be it.
Are you going to get to much World Cup while you're over here?
Hopefully, we'll see how we go. Hopefully I can get to one of the matches up here. Unfortunately, I can't get to the England-Australia match, which would have been awesome, but I'll be cheering them on from Newcastle.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Toby, and good luck.
No worries.
Cheers.